Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel for another day of Mystery Week. Now I think I say this every single time I cover a Doe case on my channel, but I'm going to reiterate it once again. I think Jane and John Doe cases are amongst some of the most important and most solvable cases I cover. By talking about these cases, talking about these people and their stories, or at least what we know of their stories, maybe we can reach somebody who knows something. These people had families, they had friends, they likely went to school, went down to the local shops, they spoke to people. There are people out there who knew these does. You just need to reach those people. Half of the mystery is finding out what happened to them, who killed them, how they ended up where they did. The other half is finding out their identity. By finding one, you can usually find the other. And researching for this video has actually really made me realise that I need to be covering more Jane and John Doe cases on my channel. So from now on, expect to see them a lot more often. I just think they're so important to talk about because so many are getting solved at the moment. The Jane Doe we're going to be talking about today is known as Woodlawn Jane Doe, named so because of the fact she was found in Woodlawn, Baltimore County in Maryland on the 12th September 1976. She has been unidentified for 43 years and was found near the roadway at the back gate of Lorraine Park Cemetery. Thought that Woodlawn Jane Doe hadn't been dead for very long when she was found. Between 9:20 and 10:20 a.m. that morning, a woman was driving along with her daughter and sees a van leaving the area where Jane Doe would be found within the hour by another driver who sees her body at the side of the road. I find it particularly chilling that whoever did this thought to leave her at the back gate of a cemetery, like they're almost rubbing in what they did, or maybe they felt guilty. Jane Doe had been beaten, raped and strangled. Her body was partially wrapped in a white sheet, hands tied behind her back in a complicated bondage knot. She was wearing a white bra, white and beige pullover, short sleeve top, Levi beige and yellow jeans with brown leather shoes with soft rubber soles, similar to moccasins. They had twine laces, along with brown, grey and beige striped knee-high socks. She was wearing one shoe, the other was found nearby. She was also wearing a rawhide string necklace around her neck with a single blue bead and had two brass keys on a safety pin in her pocket. She had been raped so severely that blood had seeped through to her trousers. Whoever had harmed her had carefully redressed her after the assault. Now I'm actually going to insert a post-mortem photo of Jane Doe's face here, which remained actually very recognisable. The photo isn't graphic at all, and I don't usually share photos of crime scenes or bodies, but I think it's important in this case as somebody could recognise her. She had brown eyes with olive skin and brown shoulder-length hair with a widow's peak. Her ears were pierced and she had an 1.5 inch long scar on her left thigh, along with some scarring on her knees. Her teeth had been cared for by a dentist at some point, as she had multiple fillings and several molars extracted earlier in life. All good quality work, which suggested that she probably did not come from a background of poverty, or that she had access at least to good dental care. She was estimated to be between 15 and 30 years old, 5'8" tall and weighed about 159 pounds with O positive blood type. Both her fingerprints and dental chart have been added to national databases, but no match has ever been made. Jane Doe had a crudely done, possibly homemade tattoo on her right upper arm near her shoulder. So crude that it's actually difficult to work out what it said. It was some form of initials, either JS, JD, JB, SP, SS, SD, SB or JP, which is what the investigators actually now widely think it is. Over her face there were two bandanas, one blue and white, the other orange and white, fastened behind her neck in a square knot. The orange and white bandana had crudely cut out holes where her eyes and nose would have been. There was a bag that would have been used for grass seeds over her face, as well as part of the bag being found lodged in her throat. This caused her death along with strangulation with some kind of ligature. The bag read Formulated Farm Bureau Quality Lawn Seed from the Farm Bureau Association, 158 Lexington Street in Waltham. This Farm Bureau only produced this product in the Buffalo area of New York, and it was only distributed to 5 different places in the state of Massachusetts: Waltham, Greenfield, Lowell, Rochdale and South Weymouth. The keys found in her pocket were also manufactured in the Massachusetts area, in a place called Fitchburg. One appeared to be a house key, the other a night latch key, which is a specific type of lock that is mounted on the surface of the door instead of being inside the door. A lot of houses have them. Her autopsy discovered toxic levels of a drug called chlorpromazine in her system, a drug that is often used in mental hospitals as it can be used to treat schizophrenia. It can also be used as a tranquilizer, which seems to be its use in this specific case. Plus, the sheet she was wrapped in was noticeably low quality with just 130 thread count, which is also commonly used and commonly found in mental institutions. It's been widely speculated over the years that Jane Doe was a patient at one of these hospitals herself, or that her killer worked in one of these hospitals and therefore had access to the drug and this particular type of sheet. Despite there being such a huge amount of information available about Jane Doe, so many links to Massachusetts, and a very recognisable face post-mortem, Jane's case went quiet with no leads. But that was until recent years, when the Border Control actually contacted the investigators in this case and offered to do pollen analysis on the clothing of Jane Doe, something which I see often done nowadays in Doe testing. Pollen is very specific and allows investigators to accurately pin down the areas of the country people come from. Luckily, the clothing had been stored properly for the past 40 years, which isn't usually the case, and the testing was able to be done without any risk of contamination from the past 4 decades. Testing found 2 types of pollen on the clothes, hemlock and cedar. These 2 pollens are only found in the country together at 2 different locations, the New York Botanical Gardens and Harvard University in Boston. Based on all of the other information in this case pointing towards Massachusetts, it became obvious to investigators that it was likely that Jane Doe had come from the Boston area before ending up in Woodlawn. And this was obviously a huge breakthrough in the case. Being able to almost definitively say that Jane Doe had connections to the Boston area, it narrows down the search from countrywide to a much smaller area, and it makes it much more likely that they're going to be able to find somebody who knew her. Forensic artists have worked hard at facial reconstructions of Jane Doe, creating constructions of what she would look like both as a child and when she died. It's important to have pictures available of what she may have looked like when she was younger, because perhaps she was a runaway and maybe people wouldn't have seen her in many, many years. And these are likely to be incredibly accurate reconstructions, considering her face was practically unharmed at the time of her death. Maybe you live in the Boston area and maybe she looks a lot like somebody you know. In December 2015, there was a breakthrough in the case after the Baltimore County Police received a solid tip. The tip came from a caller who believed that Jane Doe lived in Forbes Street, Jamaica Plains in Boston with her family. Investigators now believe that the JP tattoo on her arm may have stood for Jamaica Plains. She had several siblings, according to the caller, 2 sisters and 3 brothers, and that the family was either from Puerto Rico or Colombia. The family in question no longer live on that street though, and they cannot be traced. It's believed that Jane Doe and her siblings attended a Catholic school on nearby Wyman Street or JFK Elementary. Her name may have been Jasmine or Jazzy, which could also be linked to the tattoo. It's odd to have so much information about this girl but still be no closer to finding out who she was. If she did indeed come from such a big family, then it's likely that she has siblings out there who are wondering what happened to her. It's speculated that her family may have been immigrants, scared to go to the police about their missing daughter in fear of getting deported. It seems like we may be very close to cracking this case. There's a lot of information about Jane Doe, possibly even tracing her down to a specific street she may have lived on growing up. One more lead in this case could just be the answer they're looking for. They just need one person to come forward with one piece of information, possibly somebody who knew her family or know where they are now, and this case could be solved. Or of course, this could be another case that is eventually solved through GED match. I see some people pronouncing it as GED match, some say GED match, tell me which one it is. It could be a case of her DNA eventually being matched to a family member through this service. Jane Doe cases right now are being solved at a faster rate than ever before. At the beginning of the year I made a video on Orange Socks, who was a Jane Doe found in Georgetown, Texas. I said in that video that I felt her identity would be discovered very soon, and it turns out I was correct. Just a couple of months ago, Orange Socks was identified as Deborah Louise Jackson, a 23-year-old woman from Abilene, Texas. And it's actually incredible how spot on her facial reconstructions were. She was identified with the aid of the DNA Doe project in August, when her sister spotted a sketch of Orange Socks on TV and thought it bore a striking resemblance to her sister, who hadn't been seen since 1977. Her family never filed a missing persons report because they just thought she'd set out on her own and that she was doing okay. Deborah's sister contacted the sheriff's office and provided a saliva sample to the DNA Doe project, also known as DDP. DDP uploaded the sister's DNA profile to GED Match, which matched the profile of Orange Socks, who had been uploaded onto the database by DDP in April of 2018. They still have no further clues as to Deborah's killer, but at least they've reunited her with her identity, and her family have answers. It shows that this is possible. It's possible to reunite those with their identities. All it takes is for literally one person to see a video or a sketch they recognise, and then the case is pretty much solved. I hope Woodlawn Jane Doe has the same outcome as Deborah Jackson. So if you live in the Boston area, specifically Jamaica Plains, or if you lived there before the 1970s or in the 1970s, pay particular attention to this case, or share this video with other people who live in the area. And even if you don't live in the Boston area, you don't live in Jamaica Plains, you may still recognise her, so pay close attention. Let me know if there are any other Jane Doe cases you would like me to cover, if there are any that are particularly close to your heart. I really do want to start talking about more Jane and John Doe cases. I think it's really, really important to get these reconstructions, these faces out there, and maybe we can reunite some people with their identities. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you tune in same time tomorrow for another video. Thank you so much. I'll see you then. Bye guys.